Anyways, it's a Monday edition here on Zero Block 30, and we are back after taking a vacation, full 2 weeks or 2 shows a week. Back again. We're going to have all of our normal stuff. I'm excited to be back. We've been doing all kinds of stuff. Kate, I was nervous about you because I spent some of my time watching a couple documentaries about religion. One of them, I don't know if you guys have seen it, Keep Sweet, about Warren Jeffs.
Dude, the FLDS.
Dude, number one, I had one of those churches in the town over from me growing up, and I never really appreciated what it was. And now, having grown up and learned, it's like, whoa, that's weird.
Fundamental.
But also, yeah.
Mm.
I watched, I think, like most of the first episode of that. It's bananas.
First of all, I'll say it. Mormons are hot. Like,
they're
super hot. But
there's a lot. I think there's a lot of hot women. The dudes look like fucking string bean nerds.
Right. And I think that's why they keep it going that way. It's the only way the guys can reel in the hotties. But anyway, that hairstyle was just not it.
No,
that fundamentalist, even the hottest ladies looked like total duds with that. And that's the important takeaway here.
Well, yeah, I don't know, Kate, because it seemed like there was a lot of child rape going on, and that was pretty bad too.
Yeah, can't have that.
Okay, thank you.
It was pretty bad.
Those killed Chaps.
Yes,
that was
anyways,
terrible.
it was so I've been watching that. I got nervous whenever I saw on Instagram that you ran across some Scientologists.
Dude, so I recently I got back into music again, Chaps. So I also got back into hiking again over this break.
When do you going to start calling it humping?
Humping, as we did in the military.
Or rucking.
Mm-hmm.
Or a ruck.
I got back into hiking again. I swear to God, my top 2 things on my lifetime bucket list are, as soon as my son turns 18 and he's off to college or whatever, I'm going to hike the ACT and the PCT. That's it for me.
We talked about this now.
Or the AT and the PCT.
Yeah, the Appalachian Trail and the Pacific Coast Trail. Did you say you're going to hike the whole thing? I can't remember.
Yeah, so I'm going to grow out my beard. I'm going to let my nails get real long, and I'm just going to hike those trails and stink it up wherever I go. But anyway, I hiked a chunk of the Appalachian Trail yesterday with my son. I put him in this little backpack, and I had scoped it out a couple days before on my own. I put him in daycare and went and had a day to myself. Anyways, I scoped it out, so I knew it was like a pretty flat section of the trail, whatever. And you're passing all these like dirt bag through, because this is the time of year they finally have made it far enough north. They're coming through this area. So, and they fucking stink. You can tell they're all grizzled and dirty and whatever, but it's so fun chatting.
They wear it like a badge of honor though.
Oh my God. Yes. Like the dirtier and stinkier and grosser you are.
In 2 weeks.
If you're a woman who looks like the Yeti on this trail, you're like the queen of the trail. That's like whatever. So it's another reason part of my goals. Anyway, we are probably we did 5 miles total, but we were pretty far out there. We were probably like 3 miles into the trail, like middle of nowhere. You have to go on all these like treacherous little like one log boardwalks and blah, blah, blah. And I turn this corner, I come over a bridge, go down into the trees, and there in the middle of nowhere, I had to do a double take. I was like, am I hallucinating? 2 guys and a woman in their, when I say Sunday best, like crisp suits, like church suits. The woman was in ankle length, it was hot out, long sleeve dress that went all the way to the ground. They were all stunning. Like the 2 guys, they were young men, but they were like handsome as shit.
You can't send out Ugo missionaries though.
No,
you just can't do it.
Perfect hair. The woman was gorgeous, but they were dressed to the nines. Their shoes were immaculate. I don't know how. They didn't have any extra bags with them or whatever. And then they even had one of those giant, you know how they stand there in the cities and they have the pamphlet holder?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Like the 5 foot tall pamphlet holder. They had a 5 foot tall pamphlet holder.
Like the thing at Holiday Inn whenever you're trying to go to Six Flags.
Full of pamphlets about, and it was one of those like, are you happy in your life? Have you found the whatever, blah, blah, blah. So we start out, I was like, I don't even want to pass these guys because their energy is so beautiful and strong. I might get sucked in. But
I can see you joining a cult for sure.
Absolutely.
Oh, I'm 100%. I have zero emotional
exactly what you
intelligence.
said though, Kate. Like when you go on your hikes, you start to get real introspective and like thinking about life. And you know what? Maybe Scientology is the answer for me.
And what a thing to do. They were facing the direction. So I was going against the way most Appalachian Trail hikers are going. They were facing the way that those worn down, beaten Appalachian Trail hikers were coming.
Oh, by design.
So they come out of the woods and they're like, have you been thinking on this walk? You'd be a little happier and like, and so I just made a joke that Cash was like waving at him and I was like, uh-oh, he sees people look better than me on the trail. I said something weird and awkward and we just I fucking put the gas on. I was like, we're getting the fuck out of here. I wanted to take a picture of them, but I was too chicken. There was something weird. I don't know. But how the fuck did they get out there and keep their whole outfits immaculate? Like
they probably they brought other bags because there's no way you were hiking in dress shoes and keeping them pristine. They probably have other bags and then they hid them in a little.
Well, I think maybe
somewhere.
God
Maybe
beamed them down right to the woods.
I mean, even the Mormon folks here, when they come and they're riding their bikes and stuff, it'll be 105 degrees and they're not
pristine.
Sweating at all.
Mormons don't sweat. People forget. They do. Cons, you could never. You would
no,
never be.
There's no shot.
Finally, I have one other note. Right off this trail, there's this parking area it's a popular spot for Appalachian Trail hikers because right off the trail, it's one of those rare spots where there's this farm that has all this food for them, and there's this kind of infamous little hot dog stand. And this guy, people were like, oh, because I was like, oh, I'll go over and get a hot dog and something to eat for the baby after we were done. And people were like, oh, watch out, this guy's like kind of an asshole or whatever. So I go over, and in the line, it was like the soup Nazi kind of thing. The woman in front of me was saying her order kind of quiet, and there's a generator going, and he said something along the lines of, talk soft to me, like I can understand you, talk soft. And I was like, oh my God. And then I go to order, and I was like, 2 hot dogs, I guess, and blah, blah, blah. He's like, you guess? Am I supposed to guess for you?
Fucking
do I know what you want?
Thing.
He like was a total dickhead and was like, either tell me what you want or
hey
don't.
there, backpack, come here.
But don't, yeah. So I was like, I kind of dug. I was like, 2 hot dogs, I like leaned into it. Then I
Next
sit
thing
down.
you know, he calls Cash a curly-headed fuck, and you're like, wait a minute.
Yeah, wait a second. Then this woman and he looked like he could have been in The Sopranos. He was an old man. You know those like Italian necklaces? It's like the horn.
Yeah, with the horn.
The gold. He was wearing a wife beater. He was
Nick probably has one. Nick's not with us today, but he probably has one.
Slicked back gray and black, like mafia old man hair,
White Corvette.
And he just was, once we got the hot dogs, Cash was so cute. I mean, come on, he warmed up to us. But then this woman tried to throw her dog shit in his trash can. He like leapt out of there and pretty much knife handed her. He's like, you could have put your dog shit in my hot dog. What? That's
an egregious move.
And then
it's already hot and you got hot dogs going. You don't want fucking dog poop in your trash can. She deserved it.
This other woman came up to ask for the group, like, do you take cash or card? And he's like, I guess we don't read signs. I guess you can't read the signs that are everywhere. And she's like, well, so do you? He's like, I'm not answering that. And he just was such a dick. We sat there.
I'm sorry.
Dog for you.
I'm sorry. I love this guy.
I love this guy. I wanted to ask him all about his life. It was just me and Cash, like in the little eating area then. And we just sat there and I just reveled in him chopping down every customer who came through.
Which, you know what? Swing in the pendulum of society where for so long the customer's been right. So now customers just act like an asshole. We need it to go back the other way. Like, you think you're going to come out here and treat me like a dick? I'm the guy with the hot dogs.
Dude,
you're fucking
how
hungry.
How many videos came out this weekend?
He's the only dude out there. So he can act like this and no one has anything to say because they want a hot dog that bad.
He could say whatever he wants. But how many videos came out this weekend of fast food workers getting fucking accosted? What the fuck is happening out there? It's crazy.
If you treat wait staff or like fast food workers like a piece of shit, you are garbage.
Yeah.
That's the quickest way for me not to be friends with someone. If I go out to eat and they're rude to like the wait staff, no way. Just can't do it. Can't do it at all. But I can do 5 rounds of the magazine today. Round number 1, a fella on TikTok made a frog army and it turned into a case of good initiative, bad judgment. The result of his TikTok could be a mass extinction of up to 90 different types of frogs. You hate to see that. Round number 2, military members are known to have many tattoos. Sometimes they look great. Sometimes they look like mine. Either way, one service has a way for you to keep all of them. Round number 3,
eternity.
For eternity, as long as you want to. Round number 3, nearly 60,000 Guard and Reserve troops are on the verge of being kicked out after refusing the COVID vaccine. Is that a good or a bad thing, considering that we're having trouble recruiting? Round number 4, it seems like our Navy should be advanced enough that an F-18 doesn't just fall off an aircraft carrier because of some high wind, but an F-18 blew off a deck of an aircraft carrier because of some high winds. And finally, round number 5, we're going to update the safety brief because one Brazilian model was forced into a wheelchair after being polite for so long. We're going to tell you how to avoid such a fate. And we're also going to have a little bit of a bonus round. Will it suck is what we're going to call it, because Biden has a huge announcement at 5 p.m. We're going to discuss whether or not that announcement, like most of his, actually suck. And all of that is going to be brought to you by our good friends at WhistlePig. If you haven't tried it, you need to. I saw so many people on social media enjoying their canned cocktails that they had. I had a big group of our friends came over to our house. I feel like Willy Wonka now because WhistlePig sent me so many cans, like a legit pallet of WhistlePig canned cocktails. So now when I have people come over, I just go into our fridge and pull out multiple things. I'm like, who wants a WhistlePig? I got it. Don't bring any booze. I got all the stuff that we could possibly need here, and it's all delicious. And when people try it for the first time, they're like, holy shit, I'm so used to all the seltzers essentially taste the same. This is something new. It has a more fruity flavor. It's also made with 100% estate grown rye right there in Vermont. Cons, you want to do the ad read?
You gonna cry?
No.
I'm glad Cons did it because I was going to make fun of you as well.
Okay. So Vermont is where it's grown. We're still trying to do our camping trip. One of the fellows that listens to the show, he's also a professor, said he wanted to meet up with us. We need to get on that and do that before it gets hot. Speaking of hot, I'm going to need many canned cocktails this week. Fucking Greg Abbott and this goddamn grid here in Texas. You know, they have the audacity to send us a message and be like, put your thermostat to 80 today because we're running out of power in Texas. 80?
That's a ridiculous request.
107. The real feel yesterday outside in my backyard was 117.
You know, just laughing at you guys right now as you struggle. All the nudist colonies. They're like,
no, there's one in Texas. There's actually a nudist that was at this beach outside of Austin, had to be life flighted because they got overheated.
Yeah. Still need a little shade on your buns, I suppose.
Let me ask this. Is Abbott's rationale like, well, it's 117, so 80 should feel like a reprieve?
No, their rationale is that it's going to collapse the entire system and the state will be without power whenever it's
right. But no, I get that part. But it's like, how do you land on 80? Why 80?
I think it's just the amount that we reduce. I mean, because we get those things here. The difference between they'll be like, what's the size of your house? If your house is 2,000 square feet and you reduce it 2 degrees, that'll save you $30 or $40 a month whenever you're doing it. And they try to get you this way. Just fix it. They're like, there's no way for us to do it. It's 107 degrees. Build some solar shit. Like, that would be a good idea. There's a lot of sun in Texas, it turns out. California, by the way, people shit on California. Did you know that last week was the first time in the history of the United States that a single state relied only on renewable energy?
No.
The entire state of California was powered by wind and solar. No gas at all. Incredible.
A lot of dead birds chopped up in those things, though. Hate to be a buzzkill, but
true.
As a bird lady, Kate. I can't.
You know what? But birds are dumb, and if they're not, maybe they'll learn not to fly into them.
Birds are very smart. You should read a book about a.
Well, they keep flying. They keep flying into the freaking windmills. They can't be that smart.
Well, we have planes, and we had a fellow that jumped out of one over the Grand Canyon like an idiot.
Yeah.
And by the way, the video that you talked about last week, Kate, as an augment to our story about the Lance Corporal who stole the plane. That video was going viral again. The one that
San Diego when all the fireworks went off at once. Yeah, I could see it from 50 miles across the ocean on San Clemente Island. It was people thought like somebody attacked San Diego. That's what we thought. It was like, oh my God, whatever. Anyway.
And have you seen the actual video of the plane going up and down?
No.
Like there's video. I saw it this morning. Annalise actually sent it to me. There's a video of the plane that the guy flies and how he did it. The story that Kate told last week, I'll go through it real quick because she didn't go these details. This dude goes through the TSA and they show him going through the TSA. He's a normal worker at the airport. He disappears off of their camera for like 5 or 6 hours somewhere in the airport. They have no idea where he's at. He sneaks out, goes and gets one of those little luggage cart that they bring all the different luggage to put underneath the plane. He taxis out and it ties the plane to that little thing, pulls it in the runway, gets it a rolling start, almost like he's going to pop the clutch. Next thing you know, he gets into the plane. As soon as he closes the hatch, other pilots are like, we just saw.
Oh, you're talking about the Seattle story. I was talking about something totally different.
Oh, well, this
I was
guy,
talking about the fireworks story. We were totally two different planes.
the plane
there.
story.
Okay. Two totally different stories.
The other pilots are like, holy shit, man. Like, this guy's about to take off. And the next thing you know, he does take off. He's like, I'm going to go check out some mountains. I'm going to do this.
Yeah, the guy who stole the plane in Seattle area. Yeah.
And his voice sounds so calm the whole time. It's fucking crazy.
Yeah, wild.
Anyway, watch some of those clips on YouTube while you're having a little WhistlePig. You can get it at any store. You can order it. Go to whistlepig.com and you're going to be able to find it right there. It's the best whiskey and best canned cocktails in the biz. Let's get going with round number one. I'm kind of excited about this story because I've been following it since the beginning. Like, it was on my For You page right away. And I thought, that's a lot of fucking tadpole eggs, man. Like, if this dude is serious and he figures out how to do it, can you imagine how furious you would be if you're sitting in your neighborhood and the next thing you know, you got 500 million frogs that are just chilling in your neighborhood? That's a lot of frogs.
That's just,
going to be
feels like a fake number.
This is going to be an actual problem. This story comes to us from The Guardian. A TikTok frog army has racked up millions of likes, but the potential consequences of the bizarre stunt are no joke, according to experts. In February of this year, a young TikTok user who claims to be based in the UK started building a frog army after noticing some types of eggs in a shallow pond near his home. In recent videos, he claims to have gathered more than 1.4 million eggs that have hatched into tadpoles in a backyard pool he built. I wanted to create the largest frog army in history, he said. Next year, I will create a giant pond for 10 million frogs. So I went to talk to our resident herpetology expert, Billy Football, about this. And he really is. He's like, knows everything about lizards and snakes and frogs and whatever. First of all, his eyes lit up like a Christmas tree that I wanted to talk about it. He's like, oh, I already blogged this in depth. Yeah, anything you want to know, I'll talk about it.
Well, it's probably because it's like when somebody wants to finally talk to me about barbecue. And I'm like, hell yeah, let's fucking do it, like, brother. Let's get into this shit. That's how because nobody usually cares about frogs. And then when you have the opportunity and you got all that frog knowledge hopping around your little brain housing group, you want to get it out.
Yeah, but he summed it up this way. He's like, frogs lay a shit ton of eggs because in the whole big scheme of nature, most of those eggs are meant to be eaten. Mm-hmm. Like, frogs lay so much eggs almost as like a meal for everyone else. Like, leave us alone, but you can have bird. You can eat 70 of my eggs today. Snakes Fish, you can eat 100 of them. I don't.
Okay, I was gonna say who eats the eggs? Birds and snakes.
Everybody, really.
Everybody.
So really,
any
only
type of carnivore that's in the wild will eat eggs of any kind.
And that's the way the circle of life. That's the way it's meant to be. Only a few of these frogs are supposed to survive. So most never make it to be hatched. So now all of these hatched eggs, once they hatch and there's little frogs everywhere, they all need to eat. So immediately they're going to eat every insect and bug and whatever. And at first you're like, hell yeah, that's great. I hate bugs. But all the other animals eat those bugs too. So now all the other animals are going to lose what they need to eat. And then once they are done eating that, and they'll eat all the vegetation around, and other animals and shit need that, and bugs need that. And then once they've eaten all of that in that area, they're going to turn on each other and start cannibalizing each other. This is what Billy Football was telling me.
And then it's going to turn them gay.
And then they're going to turn Jones gay. Right. And then Alex Jones is right. And that's the thing. But he said there are certain cases where this has kind of happened before, where the frog's environment gets fucked. And so they start cannibalizing each other. And he's like, did you see that video that was going viral of the bullfrog eating the giant crow? Have you guys seen it?
No.
This frog plucks a giant, you know how big crows are, crow out of the sky and is just like eating it. It's a fucking frog eating a bird. He's like, that's the kind of shit. Because eventually the frogs will eat each other, and only the strongest frogs will be left. So you'll have these ponds full of massive, like carnivorous frogs, cannibal frogs. So if you're floating around in your pond on your tube and you feel something sucking on your toe,
that's a fucking frog, brother.
Bad news, Jersey Jerry. It's not what you think it is. Right. It's not a foot fetish thing. It is a giant cannibalistic frog. Essentially, that's what he told me. That was the thing of that. But this guy, this frog guy, has kind of started a trend. There's also somebody who is doing this with ladybugs. A TikTok user claimed to have released. It's not
Lindsey Graham, folks.
No, claims to have
that released. Is adorable.
I hate that story so much. TikTok user claims to have released 100 million ladybugs in Central Park in New York City. In later posts, he claimed to have been served a lawsuit in response and has fled the U.S., racking up hundreds of millions of views.
What are you here for? Oh, ladybugs. Ladybug violation.
Friendly reminder, I've said this before. We did release an enormous amount of crickets into the boys' rugby house once when I was in college.
That's
late
not
one night.
nice. I didn't know you did that.
Oh, yeah.
Well, it was in response
my-
to several upper deckers, right?
They upper decked our toilet, they shit in our washing machine, and they ripped our fridge door off, and we never found it.
All right,
again.
so that's fair.
And they Chris coat our kitchen floor. So when we came back from the bar, we all cracked our heads open.
Man, when
which
those,
was very
when those
funny.
pranks used to go around on Vine, and people would
so
come
good.
in and they'd be like, hurry, come in here. And they'd slam into the oven and like the glass would shatter. Oh, that's fantastic.
It's just, this was a room with like 15 200-pound girls.
Well, at least they didn't put the shit into the dryer. I feel like if you're going to put the shit into any large appliance, it's got to be the washer. You don't want it dried heat because that shit will stink.
I had a poster of Triumph the Insult comic on my door that said, "This is a nice room for me to poop on." And one of the guys actually broke in and took a big shit on my floor, which again is funny.
What? Wait, did this all start unprovoked?
No, it was the rugby team. The guys were always super mean to the girls team for some reason, and it just escalated to
kindergarten angst is what that is.
Just kindergarten angst. You know, you're pulling the pigtails. You're taking a shit in her dryer.
That's some mental warfare.
I still hooked up with them.
Well, okay.
Huh? Sorry.
23-year-old Kate has somebody come into her dorm room and shits on the carpet.
I was like, who shit in my room? That guy must like me a lot.
But if somebody shits in your room and it's a solid poop, I feel like that's a good prank. Somebody comes in there with some sloppy doppy, you're upset.
That's true.
You don't want anything that you got to sprinkle some baking soda over. So you
no, and this was mid. It was a college guy diet. I'll tell you that much.
Oh yeah, that's a runny diet.
Anyway, the Frog Army leader now has more than 2 million followers and over 20 million cumulative likes across his page. The Ladybug raid conductor has more than 42 million views on his videos. It makes me cringe, said Tiara Curry, a conservation biologist. Relocating species like frogs and butterflies can have grave impacts, she said. Instead of helping, these TikTok users are actually hurting the animals they're releasing and all of the animals in the environment they're releasing to, creating a vector for disease and invasive species.
It really would suck to be somebody who's educated and knowledgeable in this area to see somebody doing something so egregious that would wreck an ecosystem.
Yeah.
And just having to watch it on your phone, essentially powerless.
Mm-hmm.
Like, because we see those things when there's like a tactical mistake, like a police department going into a building and they make a tactical mistake clearing a room or something like that. You might notice and pick it up that they made a mistake, but it's not going to destroy anything except for the people maybe that are in that house. Like whenever you're doing, which is pretty bad, but not a whole ecosystem.
Okay. Yes.
Not a whole ecosystem.
Okay.
Somebody might get a bean bag to the belly or something.
Okay. Anyway, fun fungus introduced by humans redistributing amphibians has caused a mass extinction event.
Room clearing or frogs. That's all I'm saying.
Wiping out more than 90 species of frogs. But basically, the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service is saying this is a fucking terrible thing. Anybody who knows anything about animals is saying this is a fucking terrible thing. In both the frog and ladybug cases, though, these people were encouraged by their followers who were like, "Oh yeah, I really do kind of want to see what happens if you create a frog army." Who can blame them? I get it.
Right, I want to see a frog army.
I do kind of want to see it, but it's bad. You can't do it. Frog army
in a place that nobody really cares about.
So that's what I was going to say. Do we really,
Central
the
Jersey.
three of us? No, that's not nice because you go use the Jersey Shore. That's not nice. Do we really care? Like, is this really going to affect the three of us? Is this going to affect our day to day?
Oh, yeah, I'm already talked about it. I spent 20 minutes already on it this morning. I haven't even spent 20 minutes on national security. So it's a big deal.
I love tubing. As someone who loves tubing and the thought of being in the water with one of these, the survivor frogs who makes it through this gauntlet. Yeah, I care. Okay.
And think about all the warts people are going to have.
Oh my warts. Gosh. Yeah. I was a kid who had warts on my hands growing up. I'll say it. I had to get them like fucking frozen off. I had that weird hole on my face and warts on my hand.
How many warts are you talking?
I just remember they were on my feet. Remember, like you guys know, I had them on my feet and my hands.
How the fuck will we know they're in your feet?
Remember
so
embarrassing when I was 14.
Remember when I was getting hired and I was like, I got to be honest about something. I got these fucking weirdo feet.
I never knew you had warts.
when I had the interview with Dave and he's like, did you ever have child warts as a child? And I was like,
Oh, wait till Business
I tell
Insider
him the
picks
truth.
up on that.
Yeah.
It's extremely problematic.
I did though. And where did they come from? I don't know, but I had them on my hands and on my
I had
feet.
one that was right here, like right in the middle. It was just one. And I used to be so embarrassed.
It's embarrassing.
And I thought like my girlfriend, whenever she would hold my hand, was going to touch it. So I never wanted to hold hands with my right hand. I was only a left hand hold because I didn't know if she even know I had the wart. Imagine not knowing that the person that you're dating has a wart and then you fucking touch it. Ugh. You want?
I will say though, the removal process is pretty cool when they slice it and then they like burn the roots of it. But then you got a huge, like I had one on my finger and then I had a huge hole in my finger for weeks before it healed, but it was still pretty
duct
cool.
tape. If you want a home remedy, you put duct tape on it. And then every morning you rip it off and then you put another piece of duct tape, rip it off for like 3 weeks. I did that.
And that worked?
Came back. Mm-hmm.
Wow. So you effectively killed the roots through other methods, but that actually worked. See, I used to just pick it mine, and that clearly didn't work.
You got rid of your wart.
God. Wow.
All right, let's move on to round number 2.
Wait, time out. I have 2 more thoughts on this.
Okay.
There's one good guy that I follow who does this. He sprinkles wildflowers native to his city. He keeps this little like seasoning shaker of seeds and he just sprinkles them in medians and abandoned yards.
I love that. Our guy Large did that to one of his neighbors that he didn't like, but instead with wildflowers, it was carrot seeds. And he made carrots grow in somebody's front yard.
Absolutely.
I like that move.
It's a good way to get it. It's harmless. And then in 5th grade, I had a friend, Melissa, her gerbils got out of control and exploded exponentially.
Isn't that pretty
many gerbils?
Yeah,
it's
gerbils
that is
fuck.
true.
You got to know they're going to fuck whenever you get them. You put 2 gerbils in one of those little balls that go around the living room. Next thing you know, you got 11 gerbils.
You got 2 seconds later, you turn around, and
that one fella and his wife that were in the Amazon, and they purchased a large swath of land in the Amazon that was a target of deforestation, where they had taken down it was like hundreds of acres of trees that happened in the Amazon. This guy purchased it and rebuilt the entire Amazon. But 30 years later, after all the trees got to a mature size, somebody that was a poacher came in and murdered him. Let's move on to round number 2, which today we're going to talk about keeping tattoos. And this story is from boingboing.net. What do we got here?
So you know it's good. We're digging into Boing Boing for our dudes now.
Long time schooling.
I didn't think it was possible in 2022 to like hear a website that you've never heard before. I've never heard of boingboing.net.
Buddy, you want to find websites you never heard of? Google search how to buy a PlayStation 5. There'll be some websites that you never heard of that are trying to sell them bad boys.
Yeah. This is like a cousin of board.com, if you remember that site from back in the day, or like one of the original.
Very different from rotten.com.
Very different.
Were you a rotten.com lady?
Maybe dabbled.
I love the one. The first video that I ever knew, when I knew the internet was a place for me, there was this fella that he went on a large hike, much like Kate did. And he goes on a large hike, not stopping for hot dogs, but he gets up to the peak of this mountain, summit of the mountain, and he pulls his trousers down to around his ankles and grabs kind of like this, like leans over and grabs the back of his legs and absolutely rips a furious stream of diarrhea about 15 to 20 feet out of his butthole. And I was like, I love the internet.
Oh, yeah. I mean, Cannonball Dookie is one of the greatest videos of all time. I consider myself the Johnny Appleseed of that video. True. If you've never seen Cannonball Dookie original, please take a
not the remix, not the one that's auto-tuned.
No, it's just do original. Anyways, if a loved one has died and you want to remember them by their tattoo, you can call Save My Ink Forever, no free ads, an Ohio-based firm that retrieves tattoos from the deceased and then preserves and frames them for an eternal display. People who want it done, basically you like note it in your will that you want this done. When you go to the morgue or wherever you go, they're like, okay, got it. We got the instructions, and they take off that chunk of skin and they send it to this place and they preserve it. It's a process that takes about 3 months. This person, Sherwood, who runs this company, they will touch up and enhance the work, doing his best to return the tattoo to its original state. The family's gratitude when they receive the piece, they're like, oh my God, I feel like they're here. I saw that tattoo every single day, and now I have a piece of that person with me, Sherwood explained. look, people take ashes and turn them into diamonds. In the Victorian area, they cut the hair and made hair necklaces. This isn't any different.
And then I put in some pictures in the sheet, and we'll put them up on like the stories too. Some of these, I thought that they would all look like shit. They essentially take these people's skin and turn it into like leather, and then put it in a frame, and that's how they keep it. But the
doesn't
colors
look
of
as
it are
weird as
still
you would
very
think.
bright.
And it is very Silence of the Lambs-y to me, where he was making a full skin outfit.
Because the ones that they show, it's like Japanese style art, and then they have some that look like the Grateful Dead, and then below that one there's just like a SpongeBob SquarePants, and you're like, oh, I could see saving the really intricate artwork, but a SpongeBob, I don't know, man. Like, I feel like somebody walks into your house and you're like, oh, what's that? Oh, that's my grandfather's tattoo that I had turned into leather and put above my mantle. Like, I think people think you're a weirdo.
Oh, absolutely. There's no chance that you're not a weirdo if you do this. And also, I'm happy to hear the way it read in the beginning was that these people were pulling up deceased relatives from the ground after they'd been buried, taking their tattoos. So I'm happy to hear that they're doing it before they bury them. It doesn't look as weird as you might think, but still, if you do this, I'm probably going to leave your house and never talk to you again.
But I mean, I think
it is a good point. Like, people have ashes all the time and nobody thinks it's weird.
Yeah. Why is that not weird?
Yeah. And then the same thing with the Catholic Church back when relics were a huge thing. Like, you would keep the bone of a martyr or something like that. So it's not something new. I think it's just something new different now. I would imagine they had this done. Like when samurais used to get their tattoos, I bet they used to keep them in some way to honor them.
I don't know. Hopefully I'm an old lady when I croak. And as a joke, like 6 months after I'm dead, my son gets a package in the mail and it's my tramp stamp. And I'm
if
like,
that happens, you make sure that you go with our friends at BetterHelp. If your mom leaves a skin tattoo for you that you're going to have to remember her by, you can just go to betterhelp.com and talk to them about all the other things that she probably did that fucked you up along the way. That's what we do whenever we find out that we're fucked up. We talk to our counselor at BetterHelp. It's great. Make sure that you go to BetterHelp. That's BetterHelp.com/0. You're going to get 10% off your first month at BetterHelp. And we joke about it, but it is awesome. I've had the same therapist for a while. I was looking for a new psychiatrist for a long time, but my therapist has been great. Her name is actually Stacy, and she's wonderful. And we talk all the time. Like, I think we do now. I'm on every other week. For the longest time, I was on every week. Now I'm drawing back, doing every other week, and it feels good. Make sure that you do it however often you need it. You could do it once a month, once a week, multiple times a week, whatever you want. You have the plan right there. You just book your therapist. And that's another great thing about it. One of the things that I hated always doing with mental health, or any doctor really, is having to call the reception. You're going to be on hold forever. You're going to do all this. They give you an app here. You just find the time on your calendar that you're free and the time that their therapist is free. You click that, and then you have it. You were able to text them, message them, and all that stuff before your appointment. It's fantastic. Go to betterhelp.com/0. Let's move on to round number 3. This is a big story because I think it caveats off of another big story that we've been kind of talking about, and that's issues with recruiting. Right now, there's all kinds of issues with recruiting. One of my best buds, when I was in the Marines, he's a recruiter, and he was telling me about some of the difficulties that they're having right now with the job market at 3.2% unemployment, and with the amount of restrictions on
good or bad.
That's really good. Like, that's
really good.
I mean, it's one of the best unemployment rates in American history. So you have 3.2%. To give you an idea, when President Trump came into office, I think it was around 6.3%, something like that. And then it dropped a little bit, and then it went way up, and then now it's coming back down again. So you have all these factors, like so many kids that were diagnosed with ADHD. So they're going to have medication in their history, and they're able to search through Social Security accounts and to figure out what medication that you've been on. The recruiting process, I think Kate and I would not be able to join now. If it was the same now as it was
then.
One,
I had broken my back before I joined, and my recruiter was like, don't say anything about that. And 2, I had done a little bit of nose beer goofing and drugs. And my recruiter also said, don't. And also I'd been arrested, and he said, we'll just brush that to the side. And I remember when I went to boot camp, they're like, did anybody lie? You better stand the fuck up right now, or the FBI is going to run in here and yank you out. And I was like, should I stand up and say something? But my recruiter told me, they're going to tell you that don't move. And I didn't. And look at me now.
Yeah.
Anyway,
I mean,
you're right.
because
I don't
you had
think
like back then, there was no way to document like you had weed
Right.
3 times. If you had
Yeah.
asthma as a kid or anything, if you had been hospitalized, like if you'd done any type of mental health care treatment, it was almost a disqualifier automatically. They're going to have to get rid of so many of those things because they're antiquated. You're not going to find enough young people that are 23 and younger that don't have ADHD, that aren't actively in college and that need a job. There's going to be, they have to bring it down. And the Army has realized that education is not that way. But now with that recruiting problem, they're also looking at dismissing 40,000 National Guard members and 20,000 reservists. And I'm not sure if that's the right move strictly on the basis of COVID. Let's go through this story that comes to us from military.com. Kate, what do we got?
Some 40,000 National Guard and 22,000 reserve soldiers who refused to be vaccinated against COVID are no longer allowed to participate in their military duties. This is also effectively cutting them off from some of their military benefits, Army officials said on Friday. Soldiers who refuse the vaccination order without an approved or pending exemption are subject to adverse admin actions, including flags, bars to service, and official reprimands. The move comes in the midst of the annual training season, during which part-time soldiers are often ordered to serve from 2 weeks to a month with their units for summer training exercises. Now, right away, part of me thinks, maybe that's just a great way to skip out on some lame ass summer training. I don't blame you. Skate away, my friends. Those training events are usually critical for soldiers to sharpen their military skills and for unit commanders to ensure their formations are ready to deploy if needed. If the soldiers continue to refuse the vaccine, the consequences could be even more dire. In the future, soldiers who continue to refuse may be subject to additional adverse admin action, including separation. The long-term impact may mean soldiers would be forced to leave, a devastating outcome, especially in the middle of, as Chaps is saying, a recruiting crisis. The DoD is struggling to fill the ranks right now. I didn't know if you had any thoughts on that so far.
No,
you wanted to.
Well, one thing that it's tough because you are dealing with this that's going on right now, and the national conscience. Even though COVID cases are spiking again, people don't give a fuck. Like, and that's basically the bottom line. This is not a winning issue for the DoD, like to force these people out. It is a losing issue by far.
Yeah.
And this is only really affecting the reservists right now, because the last I checked, the Army numbers are like only 1% are unvaccinated. But I think a large part of that is because they'll browbeat you until you do it. Even though there's going to be adverse actions, the amount of intestinal fortitude that you have to get called into your first sergeant or company grade officer's office every fucking day and answer questions about this would eventually be enough for you to be like, dude, just give me the shot.
Just give me
if
the
I don't
shot.
have to come up here and deal with these motherfuckers, just give it to me. And I think that's the reason why you're seeing 99% are done in the active service. But this number, and I don't think, if we looked at it from the military perspective 10 years ago, it might not be as big of a deal, like losing 60 National Guard and 20,000 reservists. But with what the National Guard and reservists are being asked to do now in this military climate.
And let's remind you, substitute teaching, driving buses, providing security for all sorts of law enforcement agencies. They're being asked to do the Charlie work of America right now. If
For
you
real.
watch It's Always Sunny, we heard from people who are on the border mission who are like, this is like we are stretched so fucking thin, we could barely function in real life. So yes. It's a big deal.
And I think a lot of these, with a lot of this stuff, just saying, because deep down at the heart of everybody that's serving, if you are in the Army, Navy, Air Force, Marine, Coast Guard, Space Force, if you join one of those branches, most of you want to go on training missions, right? Most of you want to do training. Most of you want to go on deployments. You want to go travel, go TDY.
Yeah.
That's the reason why you do it. You don't do it just to PT and stay back with your unit. So I think that that's an incentive of them being like, you can't participate in training. You can't do any of that stuff. It really weeds out like those who want to do it and those that don't. And at this point, if you don't have it, you're probably not going to get it. I don't know what the military should do in this.
I don't know. Cause it's one of those things where if they change their mind and say, never mind, you don't need it, you're fine. Everybody who got it when they didn't want to is going to be like, what the fuck? Like what, blah, blah, blah. And it sets a precedent. Like we were beat down by our own troops to change our mind on something, and they can't do that. But
it might be easier though to deal with all of that blowback than to lose this amount of people from the ranks when you're already hurting to bring people in. So maybe you put up with some gruff from these people. It's like, oh, I wouldn't have got it if I knew if I just held out, I wouldn't have to ultimately get it. But I just think it's the lesser of the two evils. And also, I honestly, at this point, if I'm a commander, I don't know. I don't know that I really, not that I don't care about my soldiers' welfare, but if this is their choice as an adult and they don't want to get it, I'm not going to lose sleep because I just think it's a losing battle eventually. And then if I just,
but I think you would lose sleep because it's going to be your colonel that's calling you. Why the fuck aren't your troops getting in line? What are you doing to not get your troops in line?
Yeah.
Like, and you're going to be fielding all those phone calls. I imagine it's just an exhausted issue, like that you're constantly
you're just so
about
sick of it. You're
want
like
to get over it. The only realistic thing I could see them doing if they are concerned about the 60,000 troops that they might lose is putting a stop loss tag on them and be like, all 60,000 of you, you're staying in, you're doing your job. We're going to separate as best as we can. And the moment that we're able to, you're the fuck out of here, because they've done that before in the past. Like they did it during the Clinton administration when recruiting was difficult and they had to put a stop loss on folks and they couldn't get out. That maybe that's what they have to do. You have to figure something out because national security can't suffer because of a vaccine. Just can't allow it to happen.
Yeah.
No
and like, just what if they did? You can get a weird tattoo anywhere on your body you want, your face, your hands, anything. If you get the vaccine, like a little carrot, a little incentive.
But let me ask, when you guys went to boot camp, didn't they just stick you with a bunch of shots? And
nobody really cares. This is more of nobody gives a fuck. We got shot up with all kinds of shit that we didn't have any idea, and none of us cared, and we just went with it. This is more of
the politicization.
It's been so politicized.
Politicization on both sides. I will say
that.
Yeah, like
absolutely.
both sides are politicizing it. But whenever we were there, maybe me a little bit before you guys, the smallpox and anthrax vaccine, those were like, here, you're going to take these right now. And everybody's just like, okay, like we're going to do it. There was nothing from
we're going to give you a giant gross boil on your arm that will give you a permanent cigar sized scar for the rest of your life.
You're fucking taking
it. Okay. Yeah. I took the anthrax shot with no problem. She hit a nerve in my arm. Couldn't wash my hair or blow dry it for a whole week.
Yeah.
Terrible.
How's that different than now?
Oh, I just wear a hat now. Anyway. Yeah. Interested to see how that pans out. So I don't know what they're going to do.
All right, let's move on to round number 4. It's going to be presented by our good friends at Rocky Boots. If you haven't tried them yet, like Kate has, and I don't know, do they make them for babies? I don't think so.
They have kids. They have kids stuff.
But not like little babies where you can roll around and get that out there.
They might.
And Elise just ordered some Rocky Boots because she's been going hiking, fell in love with it. Again, every like 2 years or so, she has this wild hair where she likes to go hiking and she always wants me to go. You guys know my ankles fucking suck. I have little ankles that used to be strong. Now I have little ankles that are very weak. And so I have to use these Rocky Boots, and I go with the high top because sometimes when it's super hot outside, let's be honest, hiking boots can feel crazy hot to you. Like whenever you're wearing them. They have ones that are like a hybrid tennis shoe, hybrid hiking boot that's also high top, that are fantastic. They just sent them to me and I'm going to try them out soon. I've been walking around and get them because I'm still smart. Before I go to the trail, I walk around the old neighborhood a couple times to break them in because I don't want to have bad blisties. You should do that too by going to rockyboots.com and the promo code ZBT at checkout. You're going to get 25% off your next pair of boots. Let's move on to round number 4. We're going to talk a little bit about the Navy. What do we got, Kate?
The Navy's bad luck continues this year. So far, it's had to deal with morale woes, recruiting difficulties, and a string of command firings. And now Mother Nature has scored a win over the service. The Navy reported that unexpected heavy weather blew an F-18 Super Hornet off of their aircraft, the USS Harry S. Truman, just this past week. And that's a big ass
aircraft. My first question for you, Kate, as an ammo driver, what should have been in place?
Buddy, a chalk block could have stopped this whole fucking thing. You should have had your chalk blocks in. Even Lance Corporal Kate knows that. At the time of the incident, the carrier was in the Mediterranean Sea, although the 6th Fleet did not specify where exactly it was. A few days prior, it was in the Ionian Sea. Longtime stoolies, the Ionian Sea people. It's also unclear if anyone was inside the fighter jet, or, boy, I hope not, or when the unexpected weather blew the plane overboard. If you're the weather guy on the ship, I bet your asshole's puckered right now that you didn't see.
You need to get a new app. You need to go with Weather Underground.
Your weather bug app didn't go buzzing on your phone when an 80-mile-an-hour wind came up out of nowhere. One sailor was injured during the incident, but is expected to recover. At the time, the carrier was being replenished by another unspecified ship, and the operations were safely halted after the fighter jet was blown off the ship's deck. The Navy is currently investigating. Task and Purpose reached out to see if the crew of the Truman was able to fish the Super Hornet out of the water and put it in a large bag of rice. The Navy's answer was unclear.
They've actually answered that it's still in the water, and they're having discussions about whether they're going to get it or not, or they're just going to fucking leave it there.
You know, the worst case scenario.
Once it goes in, though, like, isn't that kind of like if your phone drops in the pool? Like, once it's in, it's pretty much toast.
Yeah, I think it depends on like the amount of chemicals that are going to be left behind, the jet fuel that's going to be in the water. I imagine there's environmental concerns too.
You guys are forgetting about the biggest threat of all. It gets all the way to the bottom. Osama bin Laden climbs inside of it, starts like, that puppy up, and now he's got a sea jet, and he's coming after our subs down
Rob
there.
O'Neill thought I was gone.
Yeah, I'm back again, bitch. And then he links up with, guess who he gets on board? Giant cannibal frogs. He's shooting those out at any tube he sees over off the coast of Sea Isle City and the Jersey Shore.
Exploding frogs. I hate to see it.
Right. So this could escalate quickly. This is important. I looked into this. During flight operations, an aircraft carrier has to be going about 30 knots. The wind's got to be going at least 34 miles an hour for planes to take off. So they know these decks are already super fucking windy, and aircraft carriers are some of the most dangerous places in the U.S. military. Like hands down, most dangerous jobs are the people on those decks. One of the reasons that the largest carriers are nuclear powered is to be able to move the ships fast enough to generate wind for those planes to be able to take off. There's this PBS documentary. It's called Carrier. And there's this 20-minute sequence where the USS Nimitz is pitching and rolling and yawing. So ships can be moving in 6 different directions all at once while these planes are trying to take off and land. And the F-18 pilots keep circling back around. And by the end, they show the pilots after they land and all their hands were like, fuck.
Well, yeah. I mean, I can't imagine how difficult that is, flying so fast that it's small target, a smaller runway than normal.
Yeah.
And it's moving in all different directions too. That shit would be fucking tough, dude.
But this made me look up, like, so what I'm saying is, like, they're used to crazy weather. They have to have all sorts of things in place. So I Googled it. I went on that like Quora site where you can ask experts. And so somebody asked, how badly does weather affect planes stored on the deck of an aircraft carrier? And this guy, who is a Navy aviator from 63 to 70, a U.S. engineer for however U.S. Navy, he said, weather does not affect the planes on the flight deck since they are tightly chained down to the flight deck. And then somebody talked about how they're usually chained in 3 separate places. There's blah, blah, blah. So, like, did somebody forget to chain the like, you're right
sounds
about
like
you're joking about the chalk box, Chaps, but it sounds like somebody like forgot.
Somebody screwed up the procedures. Because
can you imagine how nervous you would be to go into captain's mast for that? Like, they lost F-18.
Yeah, that's a $65 million mistake. $65 million.
Yeah, it's crazy. Anyway,
somebody screwed up, because I don't think they were like, oh, we're out on sea. This isn't the first time we've had rough seas or high winds out there on the old ocean.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's safe to say if an F-18 falls off the side of an aircraft carrier into the ocean, somebody made a mistake. I don't think that's not how you draw it up in the Oppo meeting. It's like, oh, what are we going to do today? We're going to dump this one off the deck and just see what happens. You
don't just account like, hey, one deployment, you're allowed to lose at least one plane, and that's still a successful deployment. No, it doesn't work like that.
So you got to practice how you play. You got to have a recovery ops too.
That's
if
true.
you ask me, you're on a boat in the middle of nowhere. If you and all your boatmates are tight enough and you're cool with the officers, and the officers are like, who else has to find out about this?
True.
Let's just keep this in our circle of trust.
Just pinwhip circle. I mean, you're checking out of a unit. Sometimes you'd be like, oh, I lost my flak jacket. And then if you gave a good enough reason, like it happened on this field op, you can have the person
get on the DL,
sign off on it and be like, oh, you don't have to pay for it. Just do that with this thing.
So
you're saying their first mistake was saying that it happened.
Gear statement, though.
Wait. You're saying I'm supposed to have 10 F-18s to my name, and I only have 9. So just say I have 10.
Yeah,
and then gaslight them, make them feel crazy.
Like, no, we
always had 9. Maybe you fucked up a sheet and said we had 10.
Wow, sir.
I like that.
You should have been paying more attention.
Gaslight them into
that's what I mean. You got to have everything at your disposal.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, we didn't have this one. Mm-mm. Oh, what color was that one? Silver? I don't remember seeing that around here. No.
Mm-mm.
What were we doing? We were picking up thought. That's what we were doing.
We were busy.
for an option degree.
Bad luck for the Navy. Sorry.
Yeah. All right, let's move on to round.
Speaking of wind.
Yeah, exactly right, Kate. Let's move on to round number 5. That's going to be presented by our good friends at Simply Safe. Your home should be the safest place on earth. And there's a lot of things about Simply Safe that are great as far as keeping your home secured. But also, if you just like looking about what's going on in your yard at nighttime, I enjoy it because there's this family of raccoons that I've been spotting that have been going in my trash. I saw a fox take a dump by my trash can in the front yard. There's all kinds of wild animals. No wonder Baby Dale Woohoo's always barking. I know exactly what's happening in my yard when Cardi is swimming and I don't feel like going out right away. I can look out at the camera that's out there to make sure that they're doing okay. Check in anytime I'm gone. I'm going to Maine. I know my family's going to be taken care of, and that's because I have Simply Safe. They offer comprehensive protection not only against intruders, but burglary as well, and against some expensive home hazards such as flooding or fires. With 24/7 professional monitoring, Simply Safe agents can take action in a moment's notice. So if, let's say, this aircraft carrier had Simply Safe, they probably would have got a motion alert that this bad boy was rolling to the ocean.
Yep.
We wouldn't have had that whole round number 4 if they had Simply Safe. You can customize the perfect system for your home or your aircraft carrier in just a few minutes at simplysafe.com/ZBT. Go today and get your free indoor security camera plus 20% off with interactive monitoring. Go to simplysafe.com/ZBT. All right, let's move on to round number 5. And we're going to talk about a model in Brazil and how she be farting from that thing.
Women be people act like they don't be, but women do be farting.
Yeah, women be farting.
Even the hot ones. Sorry, guys. Well, I saw this comedian who I'll think of her name later, I guess, but she had this tweet that always I like sing it like a mantra to myself. She's like, even hot girls shave their toes. Okay.
True.
Even your hot girlfriend's shaving her toe in the shower when you're not looking, my friends. Okay.
And their butthole.
So you're not as special as you think you are. Anyway.
I'm sorry, real quick. I just have to say, I was like, what do you mean shaving their toes? And then it clicked. So, okay.
You think we're not out there?
Not camel toes.
No. But those
I thought you meant
Manscaped.
like her, her big pointer toes on her feet.
Well, let's do a little caveat because I did come across some good stats. I'm a stat guy and I like to see what people like. I came across this graphic that explains, we'll say it, pubic hair. So it's this graphic explains what people like. Now I want to see if you guys can guess. Of straight couples, what percentage of males do you think have completely removed their pubic hair and keep it that way? Like completely shaved?
Like none, almost.
6%.
Yeah.
Kate?
Like 5%.
11 is the answer.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
Women. Now let's see. Women totally removed.
Married?
Hair. Yeah, married.
Totally removed.
Or in a committed long-term relationship.
Well, but was this before or after they were in the committed long-term relationship?
It's while they're in it. While they're in it.
Oh,
then
once
it's
you
not
trap
as
them
high.
good enough, you don't have to try anymore. It's
28%.
20%.
43%.
That's a fucking shame. This damn shaving industry, except for the ones that sponsor us. Love
3 and 4 people don't like the level of hair their partner has.
I do appreciate keeping it tidy.
See, those two numbers to me, they don't go together. Like only 11% of committed relationship dudes shave at all or get rid of their hair.
But I'm sorry, but I don't want my guy to have nothing.
No, not nothing. But I mean, you want the full out George W.
No, have you seen Pat? Jesus, Lord above.
Wait, what is the full out George W? How is
Bush,
that?
baby? What are you talking about?
Yeah. No, I would never.
There you go. Well done.
I would get
It's like, is George W known for being very hairy?
The most popular cut for men and women. Little triangle runway. Everybody loves it. Guys, girls, whoever.
A landing strip. I like to use
landing strip came in very low. People think it's weird.
Oh, well, see, I modeled mine after the USS Nimitz.
Oh, okay.
I have a little hook that catches his penis to stop it from bypassing my pussy. Yeah, it's
one. You have one little that's doing skirmishes left.
Yeah. There's a lot going on. Anyway, I get sucked into the intake, my friends. This took a turn. An influencer who alarmed millions of social media users.
Oh, we're done.
We are done.
Okay.
Round number 5. Final run. An influencer who alarmed millions of her social media followers when she revealed she was in unbearable pain at the airport has updated her fans to her condition, and she's a little embarrassed. Brazilian influencer VTube. Again, maybe a language thing there. Here,
not talking about the vast deference, folks.
Right. Whose real name is Victoria de Feliz Moraes, alarmed her millions of social media followers after posting a photo of herself being pushed through Lisbon airport in Portugal in a wheelchair. There is nothing that will get you more likes than a vague medical mystery.
Oh, yeah.
Check in at the hospital on Facebook, but don't say why you're there. People love that shit. The 21-year-old had reportedly been visiting the country for Rock in Rio Lisboa 2022 music festival when her reality star boyfriend, Eliezer, longtime Stoli Eliezer, said she was overcome with agonizing pain. But after being wheeled through the airport, she later discovered the cause of her pain was actually trapped wind. Victoria later shared an update with her 23.4 million Instagram followers, where she managed to have a giggle about her diagnosis. It turned out to be gas, she said. She also made a reference to Brazilian singer Poca, who hit headlines earlier this year over a similar incident, stating, "I understand you, mommy Poca." This prompted Poca to reply, "Get well, my daughter. Farting is serious." And she's right. There's certain dress styles I won't wear because it's like a dam. It traps me up. It hurts, man. It sucks.
Yeah, I remember you saying that on a train.
Yes. Yeah. Anyway, the 27-year-old whose real name is Vivian. I just was thinking about myself for a second and how I just don't care anymore. And it's kind of sad.
No, I don't think it's sad. I think you are who you are. You're a mom. You had some gas trapped up in the old Amtrak. Who amongst us hasn't had to go into the old bathroom and let one bark? So we felt a little better.
I think that's actually very nice of you. The fact that you
Thank you.
excused yourself and didn't subject the rest of the passengers.
Yeah, Cons, you should try it sometime.
One of my favorite games as a married person is to act like I'm being polite, where like, excuse me, I need to go to the restroom real quick. And I'll go to the bathroom, which is not that far away from our bed. It's only like 20 feet away. And I'll fart as absolutely loud as and come back like there's no way she heard it. She's just like, you're a fucking.
I'm going to tell you right now, if I did that, I might find myself without a wife.
Mm. Cons, yeah, because we've
had to deal with that game.
A friendly reminder, just Charlotte in the middle of summer, he farted in the van we were in, and I will never get over it.
Okay, it was legit mad, yeah.
The 27-year-old whose real name, and I think farts are hilarious. That gives you an idea how bad it was. 27, her real name is Vivian. She ended up in the hospital in March after a reluctance to fart in front of her significant other resulted in dangerous gas buildup. This is the celebrity Poca that responded to her.
I feel like if this happens and you're in a relationship, you have to marry the person. If somebody puts themselves in such physical angst that they might go to the hospital because they won't fart because they want to do it for you and your nose, I feel like you got to marry them. Like, to me, that's more important than having a baby with somebody.
Yeah. So she held it in for so long. The trap gas, the methane wasn't moving through her intestines, and it caused her sharp pain or discomfort. And she held it in so long. Again, she had to go to the hospital and be medicated for the pain that she was on. Girls, don't be ashamed to fart in front of your guy, because what's really embarrassing is not letting your guy sleep because you're in discomfort, going to the hospital, and then being diagnosed with trapped farts. From now on, I'm letting them rip, guys. I agree. When I was in the Marines, I mean, that's one of the things. If you want to endear yourself to a group, be the best farter in the smoke pit.
That's exactly right, Kate.
Anyways, I'm sorry. You know I have a military tie-in. I just Googled military farting to see what would come up, and it took me to Reddit where Marines were sharing their fart stories. This guy said, "I definitely got my whole platoon smoked in the pit, where in boot camp they send you out into the sand pit and they just fucking make you exercise until you want to die. I got my whole platoon smoked in pit for farting and laughing loudly while we were online in our squad bay. I couldn't help it. The DI ran out of his hooch and out the doors we went. So he heard the fart. The DI came running. And they were all fucked. This isn't a fart one, but it made me laugh, and it was underneath it, so I'm sharing it. One of the guys found a fan while cleaning our squad bay, and he decided to put it in the window to help cool it down. First sergeant saw it from outside, made him grab the fan and run around the formation area singing, "I put a fan in our window because I was hot." And
I love those kind of things where you have to say, my favorite one of that, a kid named Dupree, I've talked about him before, where he got his teeth shattered after he got him fixed in boot camp. Like the next day, he got punched in the mouth and it broke his teeth again. Well, we were out at the rifle range, like the rifle range week at boot camp, and he didn't shave because we had to go to the rifle range at like 3:30 or 4 o'clock in the morning. And so he decided that he wanted to be a nasty little recruit and not shave. So that night, the drill instructors brought him back and made him stand like 2 inches from the mirror screaming, "I'm a lumberjack. I am a lumberjack," for like 2 hours straight. It's fantastic.
Oh yeah. Making people scream in the mirror at themselves. This last one I love very much. If someone farted in my platoon, the drill instructor would yell, "Turn on the vacuum." We would have to scream. "Turn on the vacuum. Aye, aye, sir." And we would have to start sucking in air through our noses as furiously as possible until there was no trace of the fart. Sometimes the DI would make the whole platoon stick our heads between our legs and then make us turn on the vacuum. Holy shit. I forgot about this. I can't stop laughing.
Training, yeah.
That's a good day of training. God damn it. It's wonderful. That's it.
Love
That's
that
it for the rounds.
I just would like to point out that it is healthy to get ready the gas. So I should stop getting yelled at for doing this. Thank you.
All right. And the last round that we have for you today is Will It Suck? President Biden has an announcement that's going to be at 5 o'clock Eastern today, and it's from NASA. It says that NASA has decided to reveal the first James Webb Space Telescope image today rather than waiting till tomorrow as it was planned. In an announced tweet, Joe Biden will do the honor at 5 p.m. with a live stream of the event. Anticipation has been building for the first images, to say the least, and NASA is stoked on Friday, those same levels of anticipation, because they're going to be seeing an exoplanet and a deep field view of the SMACS, the 0723 galaxy clusters. I looked at the last time that NASA people were super excited. There was a space satellite that went out and they showed a solar flare for the first time. And all these scientists were going absolutely bananas about this solar flare. And all it was a tiny little dot in the corner of this picture that lit up for like 2 seconds. And these people were coming their britches.
But if you're smart, you get it. If you're smart, you get it.
Well, no, it's not as smart. Listen, I get it. This is their life's work and it's fine. And that's great. But you have to think, does the average person care about this? And
eventually, because whatever they learn from that shit eventually gets chopped down.
It's not going to matter until like 40, 100 years from now.
Here's the thing about the James Webb Telescope. It can peek back through billions of years of history to capture the faint red-shifted light from the very beginning of the universe. So
so they think they could see pictures of the Big Bang.
Of the Big Bang is what I think maybe this will be. So if that's possible, then yes, I'm coming my bridges too. I don't even care.
Which I don't buy for a fucking second.
Okay.
No,
that you can go back. I mean, you're telling me billions of years? Billions? Okay. That you can go back 5.4 billions of years with a telescope? I'm not buying that.
Because I haven't seen any signs of Doc Brown anywhere, so I'm not buying this one bit.
And this scientist, the NASA Deputy Administrator, Pam Milroy, she said, "What I have seen moved me as a scientist, as an engineer, and as a human being. If this isn't good, Pam, your reputation is in the absolute fucking..."
I'm excited. I want to know what it is. I hope
I want people protesting out of Pam's house like she's fucking Justice Kavanaugh. If this picture sucks.
All right.
Listen, I'm setting the bar extremely low. I think that's the only way to approach it.
Fucking pumped.
What does it need, Kate, for you to be impressed?
If
I feel like now, and I know you well enough now, it could be anything. They could do like a GIF of a penguin, and you'd be like, "No, this is incredible."
Oh, I was the telescope kid growing up. I watched it in the backyard. My dad, we would sleep in the back of the truck and watch the meteorite showers. And when the comets came by, my dad bought a telescope just so we could watch it. Like, I'm into all this shit. Like, I always love this stuff. So even the smallest stuff excites me. I'm like, this is fuck cool. So yeah.
If you love it so much, name 6 of Saturn's moons.
Oh, Aquarius, Lombardo, Stephen, Karen, Douglas, and Jamal.
Well,
you know what?
Face, you did it. Well done, Kate. Well done. All right, let's move on to save rounds and alibis. Connor, we'll start with you. What do you got?
Chaps, you're off the hook. I think Aaron Rodgers has the worst tattoo of all time.
I don't mind Aaron Rodgers' tattoo. I don't understand why people think it's so bad. It's well done. Maybe it's not the type of art. It's done really well.
The artwork is impeccable. Whoever that tattoo
one of the most well done tattoos I think I've ever seen.
Yeah, the detail is fantastic. It just makes no complete sense whatsoever. And I think he's just Aaron Rodgers to this point. I used to really like Aaron Rodgers as a football player. I think he's extremely talented, but he does more and more every year that makes me dislike him more and more every year, because he is now that guy who just walks into every room and thinks he's the smartest person in that room and wants everybody else to know it. And I think that is what that tattoo personifies.
But I feel like a lot of times in order to be that level of greatness, that's a common trait. Like Michael Jordan's that way too.
No, I don't think outwardly though, like Michael Jordan, Peyton Manning, Tom Brady, I don't think they come off this arrogant the way that Rodgers does it. It's a fine line, and I don't think he walks it very well.
I don't know. Opinion. I think Tom Brady's pretty fucking arrogant. I think they're all. I mean, in order to be a high level,
it's the same with infantry guys. Like you have to be a little bit of a dick.
I agree. Crazy.
You have to be a little crazy.
I think there's a difference between confidence and arrogance, and that's where the difference is. I don't find Tom Brady to come off as annoying. He knows what he's accomplished.
I like Aaron Rodgers getting a wacky tattoo. One of us. One of us.
I think it's terrible. And then we were talking about the tattoo story earlier.
But before my tribal tattoo is 1,000,000 times worse than anything Aaron Rodgers has.
Okay.
True.
So that leads me to my next thing. Do you have any desire to have any of your ink removed? Because I feel like the technology now is such that it doesn't leave scars the way it used to.
No, because they all are essentially stories. Like they're markers in my life of where I remember where I was at. So no, I think it's just a natural bookend in my life. And I've been married for 13 years. I don't give the first fuck what I look like or what people think I look like.
You go down the Jersey Shore, especially South Jersey, and look around. You're like, oh, I'm fine. This is fine. I mean, nobody. There's worse.
You joined the Marine Corps around the same time I did. You have tribal tattoos. You just do.
I was standing next to a girl with a giant Corvette tramp stamp at boot camp, and the drill instructors go, vroom, 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 vroom. Yeah, please. This is fine.
Back that day, put it in reverse.
And then last thing, I have a question for both of you. On Friday night, we went out for some drinks after dinner and we got home. But before we went home, there was a group of us. We got $70 worth of Taco Bell and brought back to the house. So what is the most you've ever spent on a fast food trip?
Ooh, I don't know.
I've spent never done like egregious amount.
I know that I've done super late night, big like Uber Eats orders, but going through the drive-through, probably, I don't know if the money was the same, but Burger King used to have this deal where it was like 5 Whoppers, 5 fries, and 5 Cokes for like $25. And we ordered a lot of those.
That's a steal.
Okay.
That's a steal.
Yeah. There was 4 of us for what it's worth.
Yeah.
So I feel like that's not too
I don't
crazy.
know. I mean, if you're under
Taco
$20
Bell goes down so quick too.
Now, yeah.
It does. It really
comes out quick too.
Yeah, a large amount. Delivery orders here in New York. I used to spend a shit ton in my studio in Queens because you could order alcohol during the quarantine, and I had to order like 6 margaritas or something and just get fucked up in my apartment. So yeah, it got expensive.
All right, Kate, save rounds for you.
Okay, Donnie Does. You got to follow Donnie Does here at Barstool. He went to Iraq a few months ago, and it is finally edited and done, and it's coming out. And the first episodes are in Baghdad. He does an amazing job getting down to the nitty gritty of the it's kind of like Barstool's like Anthony Bourdain. He has this great way of looking at cultures that we're not familiar with and just really making you see like all the commonalities and like, oh my God, that's so cool. Like the sports, the late night eats, the this or that. And Baghdad's coming out tonight, and I cannot wait to see it.
I'm pumped.
I'll definitely be watching it, especially if you served there like you guys did.
Yeah.
To see, because like I always wonder, like 20 years from now, Afghanistan is different.
I imagine it's going to look like a completely different country than what we saw.
So I'm just really excited to see it. So
people aren't scared that you're walking up, like they're back to doing their normal everyday life type of thing. I'm really looking forward to it. People have said like, oh, are you looking forward to it? Do you have mixed emotion? No, I'm looking forward to it because it's in Iraq that I haven't really seen done in this way. So I'm excited to see what he has to do. Anything else, Kate?
No, that's it for me.
My last note, I am very proud of the women's service members that we've seen lately using social media in a way that we haven't seen them used before. We saw some of it with Marines United, but now it seems like all the branches of service are really uniting behind each other and saying there's a lot of things that are fucked up in the way that women are treated in the service. And one of them was highlighted by Task and Purpose this week by Haley Britsky, who always does a great job. But there was a woman who posted that she was denied leave, convalescent leave, after she had a miscarriage, and she was going through pain. She had emotional pain and physical pain as well. And she posted that it was disapproved. And the sergeant major, the XO, and the battalion sergeant major all said that they didn't want her to go on leave because it violated the Army's rule. If that's the case, one, I feel like military leaders in that position, company grade, especially battalion grade, you have so much variance in what you can allow leave for. She wasn't asking for emergency leave for free. She wasn't asking for non-charge leave. She just wanted to take leave to deal with this situation. If we can't do basic human things for our people, and these stories come out more and more, like the sexual assaults that are happening, this type of thing, why in the fuck, if you were a young woman wanting a career, wanting to serve your country, would you go into a place that 50% of the bases are in red states where you might not be able to get an abortion care, where you're going to be denied if you have a miscarriage, you're not going to be able to go and get the care that you need, and where you're treated as a second-class citizen and sexual assault and sexual harassment are still happening all the time? If we can't fix those type of human issues, people, I don't know how you get folks to fucking join or why they would.
Yeah. And that adds to the recruiting problem. You see stories like this. And I know as me, if I had got to be like, I don't want to be part of that. I don't want to have to deal with that. And for anybody, for a miscarriage is a loss. It's like a heartbreaking, horrible thing to go through. And so I just,
especially when the whole argument is work-life balance, like,
right.
You cannot perform the way that you need to as a service member if you're also dealing with these things. And I don't care if you're the person who had it or if you're the person in a relationship with somebody, because it affects both. Like, it affects both people that are involved in this miscarriage. You don't want that to happen. If we're going to be a people first Army, a people first Marine Corps, and you're going, or people first service branches, and you're not doing common sense things as a leader, you're not one. In my opinion, you're just not. Like, to do this type of thing to me is egregious. I can't imagine being in that position and say, soldier, you just had a miscarriage. You're going through a lot. You know what? You need to stay at work and do your job. And I expect you to be proficient.
Yeah.
It's nuts.
Not to mention the
physical
pain and physical issues that come with it too. So
especially when we're not talking about life and limb, we're not talking about mission accomplishment. We're not talking like if you were in Afghanistan and something happened and you needed to still fight in your unit, I could see them not sending you home. But if we're talking about training exercises, the fuck out of here, man. Nothing is that important where you can't give somebody a week to get their self back together.
Horrible leadership.
And it's crazy. But that's it. We'll be back here on Friday. It's on the retreat.